Good morning, my name is Chris Adam with Youth Play for Employers, and I'm delighted to be joined by Daniel, a colour information manager from PPG. Hello there, Daniel.
Good morning. You're right.
Yes, I'm not too bad. Yourself?
Very well, thank you.
Well, thank you for giving up your time to speak to me. I know you've probably got 207 other things to be doing. And I guess my sort of, start for 10 questions has to be, can you tell me about PPG and what it is you do?
Yeah, so PPG, a global coatings company. Every day in your life, you touch something that's coated by some material made by PPG. My job is much more specific than that, though. If you scratch a car and that car needs to be painted, I work in the part that provides car paint to repair your cars. I specifically also, as my role in colour information manager, which is a big long title, basically means I'm in charge of knowing what the colours that are on cars this year and next year and the year after, so that when a customer looks it up, that information's there.
That's really interesting, and it's one of those, how to put it, it's one of those organisations and sectors which I know must exist, but unless you go out looking for it, suddenly like, oh, actually, what does it involve? There are people out there who do those kind of things, which, as you say, need to be done. And what kind of roles and people do you have within the organisation to facilitate, the different sort of arms of the business that you said there?
I mean, PPG works globally, as I said, because we provide coatings. The amount of roles is huge, from kind of HR and people managing side of the business. We have people out visiting customers, talking about paint, selling paint. We have shops that sell house paint and materials for repairing your house. We also have office-based roles like mine with data analysis, using spreadsheets and things. We also have presentation people who specialize in presenting information. You're much better at this kind of thing than me, but they also provide training to other people. We have people who travel all over the world as well. So we have sites in every continent on Earth, or maybe excluding Antarctica, and people travel between those, and people's careers. You can grow and develop your own career as well.
It's really interesting to hear, and especially, how do I put it, when you talk about the technical side of the business and, they say the coatings of the product, you sometimes actually forget, as you say, that, no, we still need an HR department, still need some of those, more traditional departments, to keep the business running. And, sort of to help sort of explain the process a bit more. So, can you give me an idea of, if a customer comes to you, what kind of requests are they making, and what kind of process does it go through sort of until they get what they've requested?
So if a customer takes their car into a shop, the shop won't be owned by PPG. That could be owned by anyone. I think everyone's got a car body shop close to them. Their paint will be purchased from a paint company such as us. So the customer hopefully would look up their colour and everything's there. Because of the work we do behind the scenes. If their colour isn't there, then they would speak to a customer service representative. So we have customer service teams all around the world. Here in the UK, they're based on site, so they will speak directly with customers. They will pass that on to the relevant people and things to get them the help they need. If it's help with information, that would come through to my department, where we would research and find out what's going on. If there's paint that needs to be actually colour matched, we have what's called colour matchers. Their job is to take a look at one colour and, using a different set of ingredients, make the same colour, if you like art almost, in a way. We also have technical people go out and demonstrate how to use the product and things like this. And then after that, hopefully it will all be supplied back down to the customer in the form of paint. That paint is produced by people on the plant who make all the different ingredients and then mix them together. You have the stores who provide all the tins. We have people who label the tins. I originally worked in labeling. That's how I came into the company. So I ran a machine that just put labels on tins. So people move about the company and grow. And then the end result is the customer gets what they need in a nice presented package in the colour they need at the time they need to fix it.
That's really interesting, and thank you, because I know it's never easy to concisely say, as you say, how it goes from request of customer to a final product. But that was all really clear and really interesting. And unfortunately, in my head, it's generated the unprofessional question of, now I want to know, when paints have those kind of interesting colour names, whether it be midnight grey or or sea blue or something like that, are those the kind of things that are being generated by yourselves?
No, usually those are generated by the manufacturers. So when, let's say, BMW, they will develop some colours for their cars before they're even on cars. They will style those based on the environment around them, the trends of the day, and then we'll give them names that appeal. So obviously we're used to midnight grey. If you're in Germany, that wouldn't work quite so well. So there is a German equivalent. So the names we see in the UK are tailored to our UK market. Yes, I've had the opportunity to name some colours for things, but nothing as glamorous as a proper car or things like this. Usually a request for someone who wants to paint a skip or something like that. But generally, in my role, actually, it's more simple. If you call a red, rather than calling it a long fancy name, which means you don't actually know what colour it is.
No, I can understand that definitely. And actually, you raise an interesting point there about, as you say, sort of communicating effectively, as you say, calling things by different terms. And from the picture you paint of the organisation, excuse the pun there, it's really interesting that, as I say, there are lots of technical roles where, as I say, people will come in and you can teach them the technical know-how, but it sounds like communication between the various departments throughout the process is a really big factor as well.
It's huge. I'd say about 80% of my job is communication and finding the information and talking to people, building relationships. That's not the same for everyone. And I don't speak directly to customers. So my type of communication is very internal. I'm very fortunate I don't have to speak to the end user. And that's a different skill set entirely. But yes, it's critical. A lot of the times when we look for candidates and things, we often find CVs and things are tailored to the skills that actually you can train a lot of them in. What we're really interested in is the people. We want the right kind of people to interact with us, and we want ideas. I think anyone who comes along and works for a company, you can teach them how to use Excel, you can teach them how to use Word. Most people have experience. I can't teach people to bring me ideas or say, I've seen this, I'd like to do that. What do you think? So for us, and very much nowadays, that's what we're after. We want to engage a group of people to communicate and come up with essentially what will happen in the future together.
And when you're looking at those CVs for those specific sort of traits, what kind of things are you seeing, whether it's something that someone puts in their personal statement or in their hobbies and interests or even their previous work experience that might make you think, actually, yeah, it sounds like, they are going to ask the questions or they're going to have that extra bit about them. What kind of things are you looking for?
I mean, one thing we see a lot, and I think it's a common misconception we see with CVs actually, is things like good at time management or good at timekeeping. Actually, I would hope most people have some element of timekeeping anyway. The bit that really makes me excited is when I see, usually hobbies and interests is just a tagline on the bottom, but I want to see what people are passionate about. When you're hiring someone, you're not just hiring a person to come in, do 9 till 5 and fill in some paperwork. You have to interact with that person. That person could be in your role in 5, 10 years time, or they could manage people. So really finding what they're passionate about. And once you know that, and when you talk to people about their passions, you really get a better image of who the person is and what drives them. Whereas in an interview setting, if you're just asking the standard questions and getting that standard information, it's like scripted, and both sides feel quite uncomfortable. So I've had people who have organised groups that they like sustainability, and they've organised people to do tree planting in their local area. Now, for me, that says more about communication, passion, and innovation than a lot of the things that would be in the first part of a CV. So I said to them, actually, this is something, it almost wants to raise it up. I love that passion and the fact that you've wanted to do something and then done it. Some people in a work environment could be quite nervous about wanting to make a change, but actually for me, that excites me as a manager because I want to bring people like that in and let them challenge me and come at me with ideas, because that's how businesses grow.
I think you've hit the nail on the head there, and I find it's very representative of the engagement I have with young people on a daily basis. If I'm going around helping them with their CVs and those kind of things, I talk to them about their hobbies and their interests, and they will suddenly say, "Oh, well, I haven't put it on there, but I do this, that, the other, but I didn't think that would be of any use." But then, as I say, when you break it down, when I'm like, when you're doing that hobby or interest, are you communicating? Well, yes, I am. Are you showing some leadership qualities? Well, yeah, I guess, yeah. I'm like, why isn't it on there? I think it's actually something where, as you say, a lot of young people maybe get caught up in the technical business jargon to make their CV look very corporate and very efficient. As you say, so talk about their time management, their timekeeping and those kind of things. Whereas actually, as you say, it's those human factors, those sort of things that show soft skills, such as you say, hobbies and interests, which I say at times could be the most attractive part of an application.
Absolutely. And they're the bit that's most varied. So when you get applications out of 10 CVs, 9 of them will say good team player, good time management skills. So that's not a differentiating factor. And if you only have that, you have to use qualifications or things as your only measure. Whereas I would much prefer to see everyone's passions are completely different. And if I see someone likes animals and looks after animals in their spare time and is passionate about doing this, I know that person has a caring nature. If they have a passion for art or do a lot of art and drawing and things, that's a creative element that might not come up in any other part of the CV where you think, oh, this person likes exploring the creative world. This, I have a role that has something to do with creating media or things like this. It's a really good, positive thing to do, and it really makes you stand out as a person.
And within PPG, do you have any examples of maybe people who've come in, as you say, as sort of maybe 17, 18-year-olds, and sort of the kind of training they've got or the way they've progressed through the organization or something like that?
I mean, the best example I can probably give you will be myself, only because I haven't asked anyone if I can give their story. But I came into PPG, I came into PPG in my 20s. At the time, I was an agency worker, so I came in and my job was to stick labels on tins, and that's all I did all day. Um, that does sound quite mundane, and at times it was, but it was a job. And at times of our lives, we need jobs and we need work. As time moved on and there were opportunities, I've always said if there's opportunities, grab them. And I was lucky enough to get a job. I moved from putting labels on tins to filing pieces of metal and retrieving pieces of metal. It was an upgrade, and that pulled me into an office environment. From there, I saw what other people were doing, and I was quite good at Excel. And then they gave me some work to do on Excel. And slowly I progressed in doing those. And now the job I do, even though I have a job title that tells you what I do, actually the role itself is very much the things I'm good at, because I've changed it around me and built it around me. I've just had someone start for me, and they've come from a very different background. And they've actually moved here from Hong Kong, and they wanted to work in an office. And now my job will be, they've got a job, but to get them to grow it as them. Um, and it's interesting, when I was putting labels on tins, did I ever imagine I'd be in the position I am now? I didn't. But did I want something more than I was doing at the time? I did, but I didn't know what it was. So I just tried to make the best of every opportunity that's come my way. And that's the best thing I can say. I've been lucky with the people I've worked for have been very good. I've had jobs in the past where I've not enjoyed where I've worked. And sometimes you have to make the difficult decision. I don't like this, but I want to do something and to move. But yeah, I'm very happy with my, as my family, with my journey. And that's why I like to talk about it, really, because I didn't have a degree. I'm not a graduate, so I haven't come via the traditional route to my position.
I mean, you've almost answered what was going to be my final question there in terms of, and I asked this to all the people I do these employer talks with, which is, and you've, given me a summary there of sort of your journey, some of the things you've learned from, and again, I guess if you had to summarize and reiterate, if you could go back and speak to, say, 17, 18-year-old, Daniel, and you're about to go out on your career journey, take into account successes you've had, mistakes you might have made and learned from, what is, the one definitive piece of career advice you go back and give yourself?
I would say that the main thing is nothing is necessarily forever. So even if you're doing something that you're not enjoying or trying to get into something, your start point is never going to be the end point that you get to. But you have to start somewhere. And the skills you'll get, even in having difficult times, will be really valuable and help build you to an opportunity to take the thing that gets you to where you want to be. Unless you are Phil Foden level talented footballer or super £1 million artist, it's very difficult to do what you always want to do for your whole career. But even then, it still takes an immense amount of work. But as long as you know that you have somewhere, even if you don't know quite where it is that you want to go and you want to do more, and you can put in that effort, and don't be scared to take opportunities. Not every opportunity will work out, and not every opportunity you will succeed at, but you will learn throughout all of it, and it makes you a stronger, more rounded person when you do find an opportunity that's right for you.